Testing your speakers on StreamYard. Sounds like they're working. Have a great show. Testing your speakers on StreamYard. Sounds like they're working. Have a great show.
This song is brought to you by Kelsey and Presley and StreamYard support. Have a great show.
So we are going to go on a journey, and as you know, we are 190 countries, so we can't hear the voices from every country which is represented. But we are just going to be having different people, like we did in the last time. We are going to be speaking from the for the different continents. So it's my honor and my pleasure to introduce from the American. Opening.
Hi, greetings to everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. So yes, my name is Delonte Lewis. I'm delegate from St. Kitts and Nevis, and I am excited for today's seminar. You know that we are living in a world of global important to achieving that peace in different forums because intellectual dialogue is important as it brings people together and cultures closer together and reduces the risk of misunderstanding and tension and conflict, much of what we are seeing today. And if we, Ubuntu leaders, if we can develop in all of our delegates and everyone here the importance of respecting and understanding, then we are closer to that initiative of peace building and bridging the gap. And also, I am expecting that all delegates, including myself, will learn about the benefits of interfaith dialogue, which is equally important, such as promotion of respect, as I said earlier, diversity, and development of a more cohesive community, all right, and restoration of trust and reduction of the feeling of threat. And so I am excited. I think I have reached my 2 minutes mark. So I want to thank you and welcome everyone. And once again, I'm
Montenegro. So very nice to meet you, and it's really a pleasure to talk to 300 people here. Oh, I feel so nervous and excited at the same time. And Delonte, I hope I pronounced it well. Well, you covered basically everything that I wanted to talk to, so I'm just be really quick in my addressing. I am expecting this session to be very like educational and to bring us more knowledge. And we are like surrounded by such a like strong leaders from all over the world, and like it's a really to learn from all of the experienced ones, but also to connect with ideas, knowledges, experiences with each other. So please feel free to like send me a message or connect with me. And like I'm personally into like bringing the digitalization to the society, mostly Montenegrin society, since I'm from Montenegro, currently residing in UK, but we are connected like online. And because of all of the things happening like with COVID and everything, we are forced to be more online. So my personal and professional focus is mostly to like educate people on how to use all of the internet needs, like all of we have on our disposal, but in a healthy way, and to like influence the cyberbullying part. So I'm hoping to learn from everybody here about like like as much as I can. And so yeah, and if somebody is working on something similar to my field, please free to connect. So, short and greeting.
Thank you so much. And definitely the theme that we're focusing on is on building bridges, building the connections, interfaith and intercultural dialogue. And that's very aligned to what you spoke. So from Europe, we are going to Africa, and from
Europe and also in America. So I've realized that there is so many issues that Africa is still taking the baby steps, especially the internet, especially the technology, and also in creating job. I think there is so many potential. So by stay here together with you, and special with young people that are facing the same problem, and also the country is developing a lot. So we can come together with a solution and we can solve this. And if obviously if we solve this problem, it will reflect in the continents as well. So coming together, thank you very much to be here. I'm a little bit nervous. So thank you very much. And yes, I'm open to join. I'm open to connect, especially for previous lady that spoke. And she said that she's in the same field as well, trying to connect with people with the internet. Is the same what I'm doing now. I'm so happy to hear that there is people doing it as well in different continents as well. Thank you very much. And Thank you.
Thank you so much. Already the bridges are starting to be built with the connections that are coming together. But the flight still continues. And at this point in time, I'm going to give the pilot seat to Joanna, who's going to take us to the other continents that are remaining. Over to you, Joanna.
Thank you, Moses. So I'm ready. The plane is 100% ready to go from Africa to Middle East. And welcome, Amina Galib Bitalib. Please teach me how to say your correct name. Let's see, Amina. You know, from Africa to Middle East, it takes some connections. We have to wait, time zones, you know. Your technical team is finding Amina. We found it. Amina, how are you?
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Hey, I'm sorry because I'm out. I'm so happy and glad to be with you here. I hope you can hear me because I don't have an AirPods right now. I am Amina bin Talib. I am from Yemen. And I work in the Environment Protection Authority and I am a climate change activist. I was glad to be one of the Ubuntu family and learn more about the whole beautiful thing that I learned with you about the Ubuntu philosophy, how to be a change maker, a leader in your field, and all the things about the SDGs, peace buildings, and a lot of very helpful and knowledgeable things. And I am so excited to be in this session with you and to learn more about your from your experience and to share my experience as well.
Thank you so much, Amina. Welcome. And now from the Middle East, we are going to travel to Oceania. I'm not sure if it's the correct pronounced in English, but Ratu Manoa Rokotavaga. Where are you?
May I just say that was a wonderful pronunciation of my name you just did.
Thank you.
Thank you that the plane has finally landed in the beautiful ocean state of Oceania. My name is Mana, and I form part of the delegation from Fiji. For me, the past two seminars have really created this repository in which all of your individual insights, your knowledge, your shared experiences, and your expertise are all held in. And, you know, in my line of work that I do, not only in school, but also in the youth space, it allows me to draw upon the various lessons and pillars that from this repository and apply it to how I carry out my individual academic and also activist work here in the Pacific and also in Fiji. I guess for me, my expectations from this seminar and also the remaining seminars is to really increase the size of this repository. I know this seminar will be just as powerful as the last two ones. So I'm really looking forward to hearing all of your insights, all of your experiences, and oh my goodness, the expertise in this group is just amazing. So I'm really looking forward to all of that, increasing the size of this repository so that it not only helps me, but also helps all of us in seeing the world not only for what it is, but what it can be, especially now when we're trying to build bridges. Thank you. Naka.
Thank you so much, Manuel. And now from Oceania, we are going to Asia. Aminata Ali, where are you?
Hello, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm in Maldives right now, in my beautiful country. Right now, actually, I'm in one of the most beautiful places in the southernmost part of the country. Uh, mm, so it's really great to be here with all of you. And Well, my name, like she said, is Aminat Ali, and I'm from the southernmost part of the country. Well, for me, this experience has been so great so far. I have learned so much over the last seminar and the interactions that we had with the delegates, and this has been just great. So for this seminar, I really do expect to be able to learn more and interact with other delegates, share my experiences, and learn from the experiences of other delegates as well. And I hope to be able to learn more about interacting, engaging more effectively, and with when we interact with others from different cultures who are linguistically and culturally different. I really hope to be able to learn this, and it would just be great to learn from everyone. And I so look forward for other seminars to come as well. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank to all the delegates that share their words of encouragement and excitement towards the seminar and the next ones that we have on our agenda. And now, Moses, now we are traveling for a different plan in our seminar. What do you have?
So yes, the plane has been flying from America, Europe, Africa, Middle East, Oceania, and Asia. But now we are getting into the starting of the session, where we are going into a session where we are going to get the inspiration from the guests that we have. And as Joanna mentioned earlier, we do have great and phenomenal leaders in our midst who are going to inspire us and share their wisdom and insight on this dialogue. And I'm excited, Joanna, that we've got someone who is highly respected and a leader, especially here in Portugal, where we are currently in. Who is this leader, Joanna, who is going to be inspiring us and sharing his wisdom with us today?
Just because I like challenges, I will mess up the plan, okay, Moses? So don't worry, but this is going to be okay. I will introduce John Vomic because he will introduce us to the very special guest that we have. John Vomic, please welcome. What do we have now?
Thank you, Joanna, and thank you, Moses. I would like to welcome at this point, Her Royal Highness, Princess Rumali. And I would like to introduce her as a co-chairperson of the Ubuntu United Nations, but also today as the guest speaker. I have got to become known to Princess Rumali, and I'm very honored by the fact that Her Royal Highness, Princess Rumali of Jordan, was a journalist, founded an NGO that aims to establish an Arab Center of Excellence for journalistic education. She had extensive career in international broadcasting, such as CNN and BBC, and others. But she was awarded with several prizes also. She was given a distinguished prize by the president, Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa, with the Order of Infant Dang Henry for her efforts in the field of cultural and intercultural exchange. Princess Rumali He's the president of the Anna Lindh Foundation, and since September 2021, that has been the case. Her Royal Highness Princess Rim Ali of Jordan will now address us and give us her views on intercultural and interreligious experiences. Thank you, Princess. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Professor John Volmik. It is always a pleasure and an honor to speak at the same forum as yourself. And truly, I think everybody is extremely blessed that somebody such as you is involved in this. Your experience, your knowledge, and everything we learn from you all the time are really something special. So thank you so much. Dr. Rima Test, Monica Rocha-Imelo, dear Moses and Joanna, lovely to see you again. It's really a pleasure to be back on this forum with all the participants of the Ubuntu United Nations initiative to talk about bridge building. And there is so much bridge building to do across boundaries, of course, real or imagined, across cultures, across generations, across religions. I'd like to take a moment to reflect on the mere concept of building bridges. If you ask anyone, do you know what building bridges means? Of course, they'll immediately fire back and they'll say, yes, I do. Then you ask again, well, can you define it? Easy, they might say. It is what you do to help establish contact with between people. But then can you elaborate, you ask? Here, it becomes a little more complicated. Still, you will find most people can elaborate and say things like it is to help individual groups, even nations, learn how to work together or to reconcile if they've had differences. And then it becomes a little bit more complicated. You ask, have you personally had a direct experience with building bridges? And this is why we're lucky to have among us someone like Professor John Volmik, because most of the time here things become a bit more complicated and things aren't so easy. As Professor John Volmik said, quoting Nelson Mandela, everything can seem impossible until it is done. I guess it's my way of saying that we all hear about bridge building. We all know and we agree that it is a very attractive concept, but it is much easier to talk about it than to actually do it. As president of the Anna Lindh Foundation, I'm supposed to be an advocate for intercultural dialogue in the Euromed region. I accepted that role because I know that the Anna Lindh Foundation believes in doing, not just in talking, and actually engages with networks all around the region. But let's go back to the concept. For one, this concept, which is supposed to help us link or bridge cultures, has its own cultural specificity. It came, for example, to my attention recently that there are parts of the world, such as India, where the bridge is not what represents the link between cultures. In parts of India, the intercultural relation is crossed on a boat and by meetings from shore to shore, or meetings on the water by several boats. The intercultural relations includes meeting and trading. It's seen as a journey. A bridge is stable, but it might also be rigid, not flexible. A boat evokes transportation and exchange. And this metaphorical difference reveals itself by conceptual differences. But what binds these two ways of relating together, you will have guessed it, is the underlying principle of Ubuntu. Because whether we're crossing a bridge or trading goods or ideas or exchanging by boat, we remain individuals that are intrinsically and by necessity part of a whole composed of others. I am because you are. In my livelihood as a journalist, I must confess that I saw and covered more stories of bridges and boats, for that matter, being destroyed than being built. The former Yugoslavia, Rwanda, Lebanon, Iraq, Afghanistan. In Iraq, I felt very much like someone whose role was, as a journalist, to tell the truth, of course, but in so doing, to build bridges. I was in Baghdad before, during, and after the invasion of Iraq, and I was being asked questions live on air by presenters in the United States, and I was addressing viewers around the world. And often I was asked why US soldiers were dying in Iraq when they had, in their view, come to liberate Iraqis. And I felt then that I had to be that bridge, explaining to each what it was the other saw. I always imagined, for example, that there must be mothers in our audience searching for answers as to why their kids were at war in that country, just as there were mothers in Iraq wondering why the army that had come to liberate them was not able to restore electricity or make their country safe, and why sometimes innocent civilians died at their hands. In several places that I've covered or followed, I saw very brave attempts to actually rebuild the very bridges which had been destroyed. Remember those very places, the former Yugoslavia, Rwanda, Iraq, Lebanon. But destroying is done much faster than rebuilding. And that's why bridge building cannot be only what is done after the fact or after the conflict. It has to be practiced all the time, preventively. And the media, today especially social media, has a huge role to play in that. It plays a role positively or negatively, depending on how it is channeled and used. And I'd like to come back to that later. There's been much done to rebuild, but progress is not even. And often when we think peace has been achieved, we think peace has been achieved only to see conflict rear its ugly head again. Because it is not enough for leaders to shake hands. People have to be convinced so that support for peace transpires throughout the entire society, pardon me, for generations, mainly through education and culture, and the media, and through reducing gaps between the haves and have-nots. Remember Liberia, Sierra Leone, or the Congo, all through the years since its independence in 1960. And look at the brave people of Lebanon trying to prevent their country from sinking back into conflict as we speak. Ask the guests that you will hear from later. Ask them what their experiences was. Ask Professor John Volmink, who suffered throughout apartheid, yet came out with the desire and working to build bridges through schools. Ask our dear President Ramos Horta himself. He lived a conflict in his own country and then took a leading role in reestablishing a peace which has slowly taken root. And then he traveled the world trying to help extinguish the fires of a conflict in various ways. A discreet mediation here, a successful election there, and a UN report on how to re-establish peace where it has been broken. Remember in particular how dear President Ramos Horta worked to rebuild solid bridges between his country and Indonesia, the very neighbor and much more powerful country that had occupied his own small country and oppressed his people. Even if you're not, as these gentlemen, these people and men and women are, as Nelson Mandela was, building bridges at the scale of a nation, bear in mind that all our actions as individuals, as communities, have an impact. The Ubuntu philosophy says that we are all part of humanity, and each of us is also responsible for the well-being of the community. Looking at daily challenges, it's easy to despair and to say nothing will ever change, and to remain fixed in one's belief that we are right and the other is wrong. The media has played a wonderful role in bringing people together around ideas. There are now travel shows, cooking TV shows, where you can see and understand cultures from around the world. The media also plays a powerful role in holding leaders accountable, provided they share accurate information. A proper, balanced, professional public media has a very important role to play in that respect. And as Abraham Lincoln said, tell your people the truth and your country will be safe. I was very excited to see the delegate, Danica Celibits, and what she said about wanting to digitize society in a healthy way, because there is that other side to the media today, as you know. And a lot of the time in our daily social media conversations, there is confusion between facts and opinion. And we don't even have the awareness that there are other points of view and other possibilities. You explained how Facebook is blocking access to data about how much misinformation it spreads and who is affected. And these misconceptions about the other can be made by us all very easily, because thanks to the way algorithms work, we're often not even aware of the other's realities. We're familiar with some of their opinions, which we reject, but the algorithms don't only choose into what category you fall in order to feed you content, it also selects content for you, which means it hides content for you. Awareness about the media and social media in particular through media literacy, whether you attend a workshop or whether you educate yourself, is key. The American academic and activist Loretta Ross wrote about using the internet to call people in rather than call them out. Calling people out is something I'm sure you've seen. It's done so often through social media. It's very divisive. And she was once told, she recounts, by a reverend that when you ask people to give up hate, then you need to be there for them when they do. And she soon realized, she says, that if a Black woman can learn to have civil conversations with someone who's been in the Ku Klux Klan, then we should be able to have conversations with everybody. Because we have to remember that there is humanity behind the words and there is humanity behind the action. We can't dehumanize people simply because we disagree with their political perspectives. So by being more aware and in control of the content you receive and share, by using the technology at your fingertips to bond rather than divide, and by using critical thinking to question those who spread hatred, you are already building bridges. You're preventing words of hate from escalating into actions motivated by hate. And you can be there for those that you may have asked to give up hate. So I was also happy to hear Solange Torres earlier on, because she's working on bridging this technology gap. And what she's doing is very important. The speed with which artificial intelligence is gaining ground means that we all have to come together to understand it, to embrace its positive impacts, and also to overcome together the challenges it will pose to humankind. But what gives me hope is that humanity has existed across generations. In history, humanity has shown its resilience even after devastating strife. It's estimated that 3% of the world's population died as a consequence of World War II. Today, more than 75 years later, in Normandy, in the north of France, where the Allies landed to fight the Germans, people pay respect to those who have been laid to rest, almost side by side, in the American and German cemeteries. Even the resting grounds of old enemies are consecrated and maintained and visited by all. Last week, you may remember, I spoke about remembrances and commemorations, because building bridges has to start with the acknowledgement of the suffering of people. It is the foundation no one can skip or avoid. Any peace-building attempts, when that work of recognition of wrongs has not been fully explored and dealt with, are bound to remain superficial and not long-lasting. And that work allows boundaries to be torn down in our hearts and in our minds. It is never impossible, but it takes time. More recently, our common humanity emerged in force with the pandemic. Although we were made aware of the stark inequalities of people who live on our planet, we also felt a sense of belonging, all subject, as it were, to the same consequences imposed on us by the spread of the virus. And all of us practically at the same time, lockdown after lockdown, we felt with our fellow human beings in Wuhan, in Milan, in Algiers, or New York. But as I said earlier, building bridges can be preventive. In fact, it should be a goal we seek constantly to prevent us reaching situations where hatred turns into violence, when we do not realize that Ubuntu is not just wishful thinking, but a reality, that we are all linked to one another, and then there are consequences. If we do not share our planet Earth's resources with more equality, there will be more and more refugees. That is almost a mathematical, scientific equation. And if all of us don't take refugees in, and don't give them equal access to education, and don't allow for people to move freely to find more opportunities even before they become refugees, we are creating more inequality. Likewise, if we do not care for our planet, and if we do not work together to keep ourselves healthy, we will have more pandemics. How amazing that we heard earlier from Amina Ghalib from Yemen, her country at war, and she is already planning about environment. This is amazing. You don't need to have followed the latest UN climate change conference to realize this. Was the spirit of Ubuntu flying around Glasgow? I think it was. The environment should ideally be one of the few causes that humans from north, south, east, and west can rally to protect, no matter what their political, religious, or cultural differences. Sir David Attenborough, in a presentation I would urge you all to watch and rewatch if you've already seen it, called for more equality and more sustainability. His short but powerful speech was greeted by resounding applause. He was heard and understood, witness the protests in Glasgow in the last couple of days. And the people in the room who listened and applauded are decision makers, those who can implement his message. When he concluded, "In my lifetime, I saw terrible decline. in yours, you can and should see a wonderful recovery. And that is why you are here. I think he was not only addressing leaders of the world, he was addressing all of you, young people listening to us now at this moment around the world. You should understand that Sir David Attenborough was also talking to you. In fact, I think he was addressing you, young people, even more than he was addressing the leaders that were assembled in Glasgow. The pandemic has already taught us a simple but all-important lesson. No one on this earth will be safe from it until we're all safe. We have learned the lesson, or have we? Is each and every one of us doing what he or she can to do to make themselves and all of us safe? There's an author called Todd Miller who's written a book called Build Bridges, Not Walls. He calls for a borderless world to solve global emergencies that threaten our collective survival. Karen Armstrong is a world-famous author who studied what the great monotheistic religions have in common and calls on all of us to be compassionate and apply the golden rule. Don't do to others what you do not want done to you. She's created an organization called the Charter of Compassion Organization. These are only a few ideas and thoughts that stem from the fact that as human beings, we can only be united. We can but live by taking the other into account. There are many more examples. There are people like Nelson Mandela who acted on all these ideas, who actually broke down barriers in his mind, in his heart, to the point that he learned the language of his oppressors to be able to better understand them and talk with them as an equal. And while he did not forget, he forgave and built bridges. There is an Arab proverb that says the 1,000-mile journey starts with one single step. And that step has to go in the right direction, that of realizing with absolute certitude that I am because you are, and that my DNA and yours go back to the same ancestors. So my humble message to you today is all of you sharing these moments with us. Get to know each other and start building bridges with one another. Gradually, together, win over the support and participation of others. As the late King Hussein said, we believe that peace is not just signed papers, but rather a contract between generations for the building of a more promising and less threatening future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Royal Highness, for the inspiration. And you talked of this from practical experiences, and you spoke about build bridging being something which needs to be proactive and not just an afterthought. You also interlinked with the role of media, and also especially digital media, in how it can be used, to promote dialogue, and also the dangers that are inherent in it, which need to be looked at. I took a quote which says that there's humanity behind the words. We should realize that there's humanity behind the words and humanity behind the action, and thus we are all linked, and that there are consequences. Thank you, and also giving us the practical examples that you gave of Nelson Mandela, Karen Armstrong, of leaders who are actually who did something and who are doing something to promote building bridges. So at this time and juncture, we are going to be looking at, so there was an opportunity for young leaders to ask questions, and we received some questions. And I have two questions. I'll start with the first one, which comes from Mahamat Abbas, who's from Chad. I hope I pronounced it well. And the question that Mahamat asked is, how can we make youth of some countries, for example, mine in Chad, who are not as active in the context of building bridges and leadership, to become more dynamic and to be more engaged? What do you think needs to be done to bridge that gap?
Thank you so much, Moses, and thank you for the question, Mehmet. And I hope I pronounced the name correctly. Of course, civil society isn't always organized in the same manner, or maybe in an equal manner all over the world. Of course, the internet is a formidable tool to help organize and mobilize. I think we're also aware that it can be a frighteningly dangerous instrument that can spread damaging lies and falsehoods. So it needs to be handled with care. But I think what I can say about the subject is that the youth everywhere should be active in reaching out to others and build bridges together with them. But at the same time, they should maybe be vigilant not to be led astray by falsehoods. And we saw where that led people, for instance, who were misguided in the United States, and they ended up trying to stage a coup on Capitol Hill in the US and rejecting the result of democratic elections. So awareness is crucial, but there are a lot of ways of educating oneself. The UNESCO website, and there are trusty websites of organizations with credibility, such as different UN agencies. The UNHCR, the agency that deals with climate, has also very good information. But being well and accurately informed, I would say, is already one step, first very good step toward mobilization, because one cannot be fully aware of what is happening and then not act. If I'm not mistaken, your country, Chad, has a problem of desertification. It's had a huge impact. And maybe there needs to be some work, or there could be some work by organizing small communities. I think in any cases, everywhere in the world, it would help everyone to see, for instance, the immediate link between climate change and lack of environmental policies and poverty and immigration or emigration. What it means to cut trees, for example, and its direct impact on water scarcity, how immigrants should be perceived as assets rather than burdens. Participating in TV and radio debates, look at what's been done at local levels. There's meetings, among people in towns and villages, and even from other countries. We can learn from other people's solutions. And that's why this is such a fantastic forum, and adapt the interesting solutions to our own situations. There's a local NGO I'm familiar with here in Jordan. They went to a workshop in India and learned how to produce solar electricity. And a lot of people made fun of this one lady when she started trying to teach what she knew back home. But, she continued. And then the next thing we knew, she had set up this project with other women, and she took the lead, and she actually brought electricity to her entire village. So I think engaging on issues that are of direct concern and have direct impact on their lives might be one step. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much, Your Royal Highness. And that just answered the question that we had from another young participant who spoke about where can we start, and you clearly articulated in terms of starting with what is relevant in the communities. So at this time, I'll now hand over and just to thank you again, Your Royal Highness, for taking time to be to be part on this platform and to answer and to engage in the questions of the young people. It really means a lot, the dialogue, the bridges that are being built. Thank you so much. Thank you. So as we continue with the program, we are going to be focusing, moving on with the program. And at this particular time, I'm going to ask Professor John Volmik to introduce our next guest, who is a leader who has done remarkably well in terms of building bridges in his country. But I'll give Professor John Volmik the opportunity just to give us the bio for this distinguished leader who we have in our midst. Over to you, Professor John.
Thank you very much, Moses. I want to say it's my distinct pleasure and privilege to introduce and welcome Mr. Ramshoorta, because he's, amongst many other things, he's a chairperson of the Ubuntu United Nations. Mr. Jose Ramshoorta was an active defender of the people of East Timor. After his country's exile of almost 3 decades, in 1996, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his work for a just and peaceful solution to the conflict in East Timor, and for fighting for the human rights of East Timorese. He assumed the position of senior minister in the new government, and then later was prime minister and finally president of East Timor. And his leadership and expertise led East Timor to a new era of peace and reconciliation and economic growth. And today, he's one of the true peace builders in the world. It is my pleasure to welcome him, the president of Ubuntu United Nations, as he continues to carry and bring us messages of hope and of peace in our own countries and across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Mr. Ramswater.
Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you, John. Thank you, Rui Marquez. Thank everybody in the Secretariat, in the organization that is making this possible. I'm speaking to you from Dili, Timor-Leste, in the Far East, at the edge of the world. Evening time here, already past 9 p.m. But it's a great pleasure to have a listen to some of you, particularly to Her Royal Highness Princess Rim. What a eloquent speaker, and not only from her mind, her intellect, but particularly from her heart. And I'm glad I linked in early to be able to have heard you, Princess Rim. And my warmest regards to all of you from across the globe for joining this forum, Ubuntu United Nations. I'm really very much a part of the UN because I first went to New York, the United Nations, age 25. Having never been to the UN, never been to New York, never seen snow in my life. I went from tropical Timor and straight to New York. There was no cultural transition from my village to New York, and went straight to address the UN Security Council. I think I'm still the youngest person ever to address the UN Security Council. And over the years, I learned the good and the bad, or the useless of the UN. But the UN, when I say the UN is not the UN as a principle, as a concept, the Secretariat, but the powers that be. You know, we are all members of the UN, particularly the member states. And the P5 in particular, but also the other 10 non-permanent members, but then others who are not in the Security Council but carry enormous power, like India, Japan, Indonesia, and many others. So I literally grew and aged with the United Nations, and then served with the UN when Ban Ki-moon was elected Secretary General, and then I finished my term of office as President of Timor-Leste, and Ban Ki-moon invited me first to serve the UN in West Africa, Guinea-Bissau, as head of the integrated peace-building mission in Guinea-Bissau. Later, he invited me to be chair of the high-level panel on UN peace operations, to review all the UN peace operations around the globe from doctrine and operational aspects of it. And then Antonio Guterres, Secretary General, invited me to be member of the board on mediation 2017-2019. And I have the greatest respect for those who serve the UN, for the sacrifices they are making in so many conflict situations and around the world right now, like in Yemen, in Syria, Libya, and so on, and Afghanistan, and today I would like to maybe to share with you a current engagement I'm involved with, and that is the Human Fraternity Award, and that was created following the historic encounter between Pope Francisco and the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar Mosque, Professor Ahmed Al-Tayeb, when they met a historical meeting in February 2019. His Holiness Pope John Paul II and Professor Hamed Al-Tayeb, Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, met in the Emirates and then created this initiative for human fraternity. And I was invited recently to be a member of the jury. So on 6th, 7th, or 8th of October, I was in Rome with other members of the judging committee of the Zayed Award for Human Fraternity. And the judging committee includes a former president of Niger, President Mahamadou Yusufu, former deputy president of South Africa and former UN Under-Secretary General Phumzile Mambo and Kuka, Under-Secretary General for Migrants and Refugees of the Holy See, Cardinal Michael Czerny, and President of Aladdin Project, Leah Pizar, and the Secretary General of the Higher Committee on Human Fraternity, Judge Mohammed Abdullah Salan. Pope Francisco went to the Emirates to participate in the interreligious dialogue that took place there, and that was historical. It was the first time the Pope went to the Arabian Peninsula, and then they issued this document called Document on Human Fraternity. You might be able to access it. It is an extraordinary document that I would say as historic, as in-depth as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and maybe going beyond that. And I personally hope that my own country and hope that other countries, other governments will eventually adopt it as a national declaration, a national statement, and then make it available in school curriculum. Because when upon reading the document, you will realize how profound it is, signed by two of the greatest spiritual religious leaders of the world, and that among them they are leaders of the more than 2 billion people who follow the Islamic and the religious faith. And I'm being a former president, being of Timor-Leste, I feel particularly connected because we are predominantly Catholic country, 98%. We have a small Muslim community and a Protestant community. And our giant neighbor, Indonesia, has the largest Muslim majority in the world. And we were in conflict before for 24 years. Too many of our people died in the conflict. But today, not only we have a exceptionally successful relationship with Indonesia, but we also, one of the greatest success of our own country is in national healing, national reconciliation. Precisely the essence of Mandela's legacy, Mandela's message. And I met Mandela a number of times in South Africa. The first time was in 95. I was unknown at the time. I was only known to some ANC comrades. And when I arrived in South Africa, nothing had been organized for me to do anything because it was a bit chaotic, a bit typical of the ANC. My comrades, they were too busy. And they pretended to get people to come to see me. I said, listen, yeah, but I want to see Mandela. But Mandela was in hospital. I didn't know he was in hospital. And I kept telling people there, I said, listen, I'm not leaving until I see Mandela. And they said, well, it's going to be very difficult. I say, okay, no problem. I have plenty the whole time of the world. I can wait here for a few months if necessary. Well, after 2 weeks, a phone call came in from the office of Mandela. Mandela was ready to see me. Well, I rushed to his residence, 2 hours away, full speed. They took me straight up to the first floor of his residence and took me to his bedroom. And I walked into the bedroom. There, Mandela was in bed, and but of course he was awake. And he looked at me and he said, "Oh, you are the one who wanted to see me. You said you wouldn't leave until you see me." And he said, "Well, as you can see, I'm in bed. I just came out of hospital. He had a knee operation, and so he came out a few hours before. So the doctors still put him in bed. So we met. He was in bed. I was sitting on a chair near him, and we chatted for an hour until the doctor told me that I have to leave. And anyway, I will stop here. I will not go into details, why I insisted so much in seeing Mandela. This only to say the greatness of the man. I was an unknown entity. He heard this young man from East Timor insisting so badly to see him. And and he said, I'm sorry I kept you waiting, and you must be busy working for your people. And that's why he said, I decided to see you right away. I left hospital. So anyway, this is only to share the story of a great leader with great humanity, great humility. I had not received the Nobel Peace Prize. Mandela had never met him. And so I try as much as I can to live by the legacy of Mandela. Be accessible to the simple people, to the poor people, to the forgotten, to the neglected. Use the power that each of us may have, whatever power we may have, to do good to those who are on the periphery of privileges, on the periphery of fate, of fortune, of well-being, to improve conditions of peace, of tranquility in our respective communities, and improve the well-being of the people we are to serve. So that's my message to you. Unlike Rim, who is very disciplined and prepare her speech, I didn't prepare anything. I've been so busy, and as I listened to Rim, I said, "Oh God, look at the way she's so eloquent, so disciplined. She prepared, and I'm here giving you a rambling speech. So I better stop here." So I hand over back to you, Moses.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for sharing with us your story. I was taking notes, and I think what you did, you brought the concepts of interfaith and intercultural dialogue, building bridges. When you spoke of the Human Fraternity Award, something that we need to look towards, and the context that you gave in East Timor with the religious populations and your neighbor, and how you have created the stability and the journey that you have walked. And you also spoke to us and you challenged us on the legacy of Mandela, of the need to be accessible, and you gave that especially with your story that you hadn't won this prestigious Nobel Peace Prize award, but still Mandela understood and took time to meet you and in the discussion that you had. And you also challenged, because on this platform, Your Excellency, we've got young leaders from different countries who have potential to and also are leading in their communities, but we have potential to do greater. And this is something that you said, that you use your power to do good. And I believe this is one of the things that we are also going to be carrying. So, Your Excellency, there was a session where there were questions were invited for you, so that you can share with us your wisdom. And these are some of the questions. I'll start. There are 3 questions. Time permitting, we'll go through all of them. But I'll start with a question which comes from the African continent, from the Ivory Coast, and it's coming from Adam Yeo. Adam says, "How do I become a peacemaker as a youth leader? What do I need to do? How do I start?" You mentioned that you started when you were 25, feet of speaking to the UN Security Council. So this young leader is asking, where do I start?
Well, I have to say it was idealism, innocent romanticism about freedom, about independence. None of us, and I have to say me and my compatriots at the time, had really much idea about a struggle, about armed struggle or political struggle. The Portuguese colonial empire was collapsing, and the process of decolonization of Timor-Leste and the Portuguese colonies in Africa started. But then Indonesia intervened on December 7, 1975. I was sent to New York with the two other compatriots. They went elsewhere. I went to New York to lobby the United Nations. Well, I had this sacred mission from my compatriots, my colleagues in the leadership, to go to New York. I had never been there. But in New York, I had support from the newly independent government of Mozambique. I had support from the then Tanzanian ambassador to the United Nations, Salim. He's still there in Tanzania. I know. I see him time to time. He's one of my idols. He was very supportive of us. Of course, at the time, South Africa was not yet free from apartheid, so we couldn't. But Zimbabwe, after Zimbabwe became independent, from a minority regime, in the early years of Mugabe's government, we also had support from Zimbabwe and many African countries, but particularly Portugal. Portugal, the colonial power, never gave up its responsibilities to Timor-Leste, and much thanks to Portuguese governments, successive governments, presidents' integrity and courage, that we are today free, because they played a crucial role in supporting us diplomatically, mobilizing the European Union, for instance. So sometimes, history imposed on us, imposed on us to do something. And the circumstances impose on us. Our best dreams or best plans, do not turn out as we thought. The invasion took place, violence happened. I lost two brothers, a sister in this struggle. The sister, we recovered her body. The two brothers, till today, we haven't found where they were killed. We haven't found their remains. And that's the story of so many other Timorese. Almost no family was untouched in this country. So my point is, stay focused on your dream, on your ambition, on your ideals. Equip yourself with information, with knowledge. But particularly stay focused, or stay obsessively focused. Don't get distracted. Don't get all over the place. You set the goal and increasingly inform yourself, increasingly try to master the tools that can support your cause. In nowadays, 21st century information technology, with digitalization, globalization, is so much easier. A single person, as young as maybe 7 years old, 9 years old, 11, you can have incredible influence. Compare this with 75 when I first went to New York. So you just need to be focused and super smart, and you become powerful. You have millions, behind you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. And because of time, we will not go into the other questions. But just from what you spoke, I think it also answers some of the questions we had. Staying obsessively focused, staying informed, and also the support structure that you shared with us that also helped in the struggle for East Timor, the different diplomatic missions that supported you. And these are very critical lessons given the theme that we have today, which speaks on building bridges. And it is also now my pleasure, Your Excellency, to call upon you to present to us Another leader who's also been renowned for building bridges, having occupied one of the difficult seats relating to nations. So I'll give to you, Your Excellency, the opportunity to present our distinguished guest for today. Over to you.
Thank you. Well, I now would like to. It is my privilege, to introduce, I think, the next speaker, and my former boss and a good friend, Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. I first met Ban Ki-moon, he might not remember, when he was Foreign Minister of South Korea. And I found him to be very engaging, charming, approachable. I was a Foreign Minister at that time. Then became Secretary General for 10 years. I used to tease him because he appointed me to Guinea-Bissau and then to chair the UN panel on peace operations. And he gave us, me and my colleagues, only like 4 months to write the report and present to him. And I said, do you realize we are not all Koreans? And meaning, we are not all very hard working, particularly me, coming from a tropical island, we take life more leisurely, unlike the South Koreans. So he was an incredibly workaholic and incredibly dedicated. And he continues after having left office. I mean, in touch with him frequently, asking him to support different, and he's engaged with situation in Myanmar and other situations. So it's my great privilege to introduce to you Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. Mr. Secretary General.
Thank you, Your Excellency, President Ramos Horta, for your very kind introduction. It's a great honor for me to be invited to this very important gathering of Ubuntu United Nations program. And since you have already introduced about me, how we have been working closely for the peace elsewhere in Africa, and it has always been a great honor for me to work with you. You have been a source of inspiration, and you have always been very straightforward in addressing many difficult issues. And thank you very much for your invitation. And I'm also very much grateful and glad to see Her Royal Highness Princess Rem Ali, and very inspiring, very inspiring. And I have been working very closely with His Majesty King, and I hope that you continue to inspire young people and the people in the region. And thank you very much. Dear global young leaders, I'd like to say that I am hopeful as I speak to you, to so many young and diverse people of the Ubuntu United Nations cohort today. It's inspiring to be part of this new initiative and the intergenerational dialogue that is connecting young people and global leaders committed to building bridges and acting together for a better future. Such intergenerational connections are essential for our future and the future of our planet. In the past few years, we have witnessed an international turn towards populism. The threats against multilateralism, democracy, human rights, and sustainable development are all too real. In addition, the COVID-19 pandemic has had a profound impact on the global community. It exacerbated existing inequalities among societies most vulnerable, and it often reversed economic and social progress. It increased the global crises such as climate change, gender and educational inequalities, immigration issues, increasing rates of poverty, and advancing authoritarian regimes. But despite the global challenges we are facing today, I remain optimistic about our future because of you. This is a thanks to you. As young people, your commitment to drive a positive change helps to construct a brighter future for yourselves, for your communities, countries, and for the planet. Your guiding principle, the Ubuntu philosophy, I am because you are, represents we are all connected and have a common vision to work together towards one goal. It's a reminder for us to treat others with empathy, solidarity, and cooperation, especially in times of struggle. In times of struggle. This is important because we see global leaders who have lost their focus and who do not base their policies on inclusive human rights. We see sometimes leaders, they prioritize their personal interest and the privileges of the safety and well-being of their own people. That's very sad. It's my generation's responsibility to counter damaging, unfair, and unsustainable policies by empowering and inspiring a generation of young leaders like yourselves with the necessary skills to create a better future for all. That is why I always underline, be a passionate and compassionate global citizens. Global citizenship is above all a mental framework. It is an important concept that can serve as a unique tool to help solve some of our most pressing challenges and assist us in reaching our global goals. It serves as a blueprint in times of climate change, economic instability, social unrest, and political imbalance. Global citizens are those who identify themselves not as a member of a nation, but instead as a member of humanity more largely. They are understanding and tolerant of other people and cultures. Global citizens fight for the protection of our planet and human rights. They are committed to service and helping others. They build bridges rather than construct walls. I have been speaking out to many leaders. Please do not raise the walls. Instead, you build bridges between and among people. They look beyond the narrow prism of national and personal interest and work for a better world. President Ramos Horta just mentioned about President Mandela. I met him also, and just 1 year before he passed away, I was so much inspired by what he said. Of course, I highly appreciated and respected for what he had done. And when he said that, no, it's not me. It's not me alone. There were thousands of people, thousand people who worked together with me. At first, I thought that he tried to be very modest, but I still said that still it is you who really made the South Africans and people free. Then he said that again, same repeated. There were thousand people who fought together with me. And it is they who made our country free. So I was really inspired by what he said. That was really a global citizenship. That was real global citizenship. If the global community can show courage and empathic leadership today, we will all benefit from it by being equipped with the tools to tackle equally grave challenges which we are now facing today and tomorrow. Indeed, the active engagement, empowerment of the youth and women is critical in ensuring the success of the international community. Consider the fact that young people and women comprise at least 75% of global population. Therefore, they should get more than what you are receiving now. You are the greatest investment. For this reason, following my time as the Secretary General of the United Nations, it became my ambition to foster the leadership of women and youth in our quest to find sustainable solutions to the world's most pressing challenges. Because of that, together with the former President of Austria, Heinz Fischer, I founded the Ban Ki-moon Center for Global Citizens located in Vienna, Austria. This Ban Ki-moon Center's work is guided by the Sustainable Development Goals and the young people with the global citizens' values. We strive to create meaningful opportunities for youth and women leaders to raise their voices and take action as global citizens for a sustainable world. We are working with many young global citizens from all over the world. Our Global Citizens Scholarship, Fellowship, and Mentorship program encourage young leaders to spot the challenge in their local communities and to find a solution. Our advocacy efforts for the current decision makers at the same time call for sustainable development, climate adaptation, and transformative education. We have welcomed exceptionally aspiring young leaders from Latin America, the ASEAN region, the Middle East, Africa, and Europe, who seek to strengthen their capacities, take action, and become local or international SDG leaders as part of our programs. This year, we have launched a new program called, I quote, Young Women Leadership on Climate Adaptation, unquote, to foster African women's leadership by equipping them to take climate action. Every participant in our programs implement what we call an SDG micro project for their community. These projects address one or more of the SDGs and should seek to make a sustainable impact. To date, the Ban Ki-moon Center's young changemakers have implemented over 140 micro projects around the world, reaching over 730,000 people. Dear young delegates, the theme of the Ubuntu United Nations Building Bridges, Igniting Youth Action for Unity in Diversity represents and addresses the urgency to integrate young leaders in important decision-making processes. You are not just the leaders of tomorrow. You are the leaders of today already. Your role is imperative for the realization of economic, political, and social rights, for the revival of our planet, and promotion of sustainable development. As a Secretary General of the United Nations, during my time, I was always guided by four principles: setting priorities, never giving up, focusing on the people, and standing up for the most vulnerable. I worked hard to build a consensus among 193 member states to support a detailed plan to invest in sustainable development and global poverty and hunger, and address the climate emergency, as well as expand programs to improve women's health and opportunities around the world. In 2015, the SDGs and Paris Climate Agreement were unanimously adopted, and now they serve as a collective contract between the world's governments to improve millions of lives. These two agreements present us with a roadmap for humankind's efforts to end poverty, hunger, and create a path to peace, resilience, prosperity for our planet, and guide us as we strive to secure and build on sustainable development, a greener economy, and leaving no one behind. This success is the outcome of collective efforts of so many people, not by me alone. No individual or nation can build a better future without support. Without our collective efforts, agreed on the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. After my tenure was over, I am still committed to advocating the mindset of global citizenship and the importance of collective action. Today, in many developed countries, progress for the SDGs is being made. However, we are not on the accelerated path as we should be. As we have entered the decade of action last year, we need to get these global goals back on track. To accomplish this, the engagement of young people like yourselves is essential. Because the achievement of Agenda 2030 is all dependent on the empowerment and participation of young people like yourself. I can understand that the challenges of our world can make you feel powerless, and the solutions to them might feel too unattainable, but you are not alone in this. We are also seeing encouraging signs of hope in the year of 2021, and youth participation is becoming more prominent every day. As digital natives, I urge you to take every opportunity to advocate, engage, and build. Make use of the potential of social media and digital citizenship that has revolutionized the art of storytelling and activism. I want to call on you to take an active role as global citizens, think beyond national borders, raise your voice to demand action from your leaders, and embrace a global vision to achieve a better future for our planet and for humanity. Together we can create the future we want, one that is anchored in sustainability, inclusion, and empowerment for all people and our planet. You have several opportunities to do things differently than us and build back better and build back greener. Each and every one of us must continue working to make our lives as sustainable as we can, so the future generations can live in a prosperous world. I'm thankful to all of you, young leaders, who joined here today and took the decision to act. Your perspectives and actions are vital, and the future is in your hands. Remember that diversity and solidarity are a source of strength and not of weakness. I have faith that the SDGs are a rallying call for you to act for prosperity and peace. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all the best of luck for your studies and endeavors, and I hope that we can all look forward to meeting one another in the future. And thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Secretary. Thank you so much for inspiring us today and for your call to action. In your remarks, you indicated one thing which I liked, which you started off with. You spoke about your optimism and belief in young people. You said you are optimistic because you believe in us as young people. You spoke about the need for empathy and solidarity in times of struggle, and that we ought to be passionate and compassionate global citizenship, global citizens. And I think the theme of global citizenship is something which came through in your remarks, and about why it is more important now more than ever for our leaders to build bridges and not to raise walls. You spoke of the most important thing of youth participation, not only as the leaders of tomorrow, but as the leaders of today as well. So thank you so much, Mr. Secretary, for your remarks. And we are going to move on with the session. And we are very excited and inspired by what you said. And as I round off, you spoke also, Mr. Secretary, on the need for us as young people to advocate, engage, and to build a future which is sustainable and which is inclusive, aligned also to the Sustainable Development Goals. So thank you so much. I will now hand over this opportunity to Joanna to bring us to the next session. Thank you so much for all the guests.
Thank you. All the best. All the best.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful moment, very inspiring, and this is not the end. Next, we have also a special guest. The Ubuntu United Nations initiative comes with the high patronage of the Portuguese Republic Presidency and Mr. Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa, current Portuguese head of state, left a welcoming and personal message to all the delegates. Let's see.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Caras amigas e caros amigos, no passado dia 16 de maio, tive a oportunidade de me associar ao arranque daquele que é, para já, o mais ambicioso projeto da Academia de Líderes Ubuntu, a Ubuntu United Nations, iniciativa que está a juntar ao longo deste ano jovens dos 193 países que integram as Nações Unidas, comprometidos com os princípios e os valores da filosofia Ubuntu. O compromisso para com uma ética do cuidado e para com o serviço do outro. Compromisso para com a solidariedade, a justiça social, a defesa dos direitos humanos. Compromisso para com a construção de pontes no caminho de desenvolvimento sustentável, ou seja, a construção do nosso futuro comum. Quero, por isso, saudar o sempre presente Rui Marques, que tem liderado este movimento em Portugal, e também o Nobel da Paz e bom amigo, José Ramos Horta, presidente da Ubuntu United Nations, que aqui estão, neste segundo encontro subordinado ao tema Construir Pontes. Enquanto presidente, todos os portugueses têm sublinhado essa vocação nacional, afirmando Portugal como plataforma de encontro entre culturas, civilizações, oceanos, continentes. Essa é a nossa maneira de ser. Essa é a nossa vocação, essa é a nossa força, essa é a nossa característica distintiva. Não nos fechamos no território de origem, espalhamos-nos e hoje, tanto ou mais do que nunca, pelos diversos continentes, levando a língua, mas também valores, capacidade de nos darmos com todos sem exceção, compreendendo os outros, compreendendo a diferença, construindo pontes. Também por isso se justifica para além do seu mérito incontestável, que seja português o atual secretário-geral das Nações Unidas, António Guterres. No momento presente em que o compromisso que envolve a agenda das Nações Unidas deve ser reafirmado, promovendo o diálogo intercultural e interreligioso, tenho presente a dimensão ecuménica e universal de sermos portugueses, existirmos enquanto portugueses, servindo os outros, aceitando os outros, dialogando com os outros. E por isso me associo, juntamente com o Secretário-Geral das Nações Unidas, a esta visão que a Academia de Líderes Ubuntu propõe para o futuro comum. Por aquilo que ela significa de mobilização global, na resposta a problemas de hoje que são também globais. Como sejam os direitos humanos, a discriminação, o aumento dos discursos de ódio, naturalmente os desafios climáticos, a pobreza, a guerra, as desigualdades, as injustiças, tudo isso exigindo a mobilização de todos, mas em particular daqueles que representam o futuro, isto é, dos jovens, desta nova geração de jovens líderes, comprometidos claramente no caminho dessa necessidade de construir pontes e agir na diversidade. Uma geração da qual os líderes Ubuntu fazem parte. Desejo-vos a todos uma ótima jornada de trabalho, confiando na vossa capacidade para a liderança global.
And after these inspiring words of Mr. Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa, it's time to greet some of our partners as well. We have with us Luis Alves from Erasmus Plus, the national agency, and he has some kind words to greet us.
So, thank you, Joanna, for introducing me. It has been a privilege to be here with you during this part of this morning with so fantastic speakers, very inspiring.
Recording stopped.
But first of all, I want to greet you.
Recording in progress.
To greet you, everyone present. It is a great honor to be here with all of you. And actually, you are a lot, more than 300 young people present from all over the world. It is very, very impressive. But first, I also want to greet IPAV, the institute that is promoting this initiative, and thanks them for the invitation to be present and to participate in this event. It is a great pleasure to be here. Even more when it gives me this opportunity to hear these speeches and to know better the scope of this project in this new phase, reaching more people, being present in more countries, mobilizing more partners, so that more people can benefit from the merits of the Ubuntu model that IPAV is now sharing literally all over the world. And I'm very happy for the success of that Ubuntu model is having. And I'm very happy that the Erasmus Plus program has played an important role as well in its startup, in its development, and in its internationalization. Many of you may know the Erasmus Plus program is a European program that plays a role supporting young people mobility projects, but our main central objective is the promotion of youth citizenship, the training of young citizens, able to contribute positively to the life of their community, able to fight inequalities and exclusions, able to fight intolerance, capable of being actors in different fields, economic, social, political fields. And in order to achieve these objectives, we need more than just good words. Good words are important, but we need also this to create real spaces for participation of young people and for training for participation. And this is precisely what this project is all about. It's about putting together good objectives with concrete instruments, a tested technology, with a real impact on the biography of young people that could project them as leaders capable of making a difference, of making a positive contribution to the life of their communities. And that means that this is a project that contributes to our objectives, but I would say with an impact that is much broader than the projects we have financed. So that's why I want to salute you all, to salute IPAV. I want to wish success to this project, that it might mean reinforcement of this Ubuntu movement, because there is only one way to find solutions to the problems and challenges we are facing in the world. We need more participation, more citizenship, more capacity to fight intolerance, more sense of belonging to a community that we build together, based on positive values. And all of this we can find in the Ubuntu project, in the Ubuntu model. So thank you all. And I also want you to know you can count on us, Erasmus Plus program, also European Solidarity Corps program, also a European program, to support you in your future plans, in your future actions, in your future projects, to contribute for a better world. So thank you all, and good job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Erasmus Plus National Agency, for the support of this program to make this dream possible. And moving forward from the Erasmus Plus National Agency, I want to introduce the AFES Intercultural Programs. It's an international youth exchange organization, it's a partner, and it consists of over 50 independent non-profit organizations. And please welcome Danielle, the president of the AFES and CEO.
Good morning, everyone from New York. It's so great to be here with all of you, and what an incredible honor. Moses, Joanna, thank you so much for your amazing facilitation, and John and Rui Marquez, Monica, thank you for including me in this Ubuntu's Leader Academy. I'm really honored to be here because I think intercultural understanding is mission critical for our world. And I thank all of you, young people from around the world, because you all are global citizens, like Ban Ki-moon just said. And I just wanted to very briefly introduce myself personally. My name is Daniel. I'm born and raised in Germany, but now live in New York. I have an American father and a German mother. And when I was 6 years old, my parents adopted a 12-year-old Cambodian refugee boy, and a few years later, a girl from India, and then another boy from Colombia. So my personal growing up life in Berlin was very much like United Nations General Assembly around the dinner table. And that has really shaped my life and also my career now. I'm in global education, and the organization I represent is AFS Intercultural Programs. And it started in World War I, when volunteers got together and said, we need to support the war effort by driving ambulances. So they were volunteers on a humanitarian mission to transport wounded civilian soldiers, and hundreds of thousands of people were transported by the AFS volunteers. And when the Second World War ended, these volunteers were thinking about, how do we preserve peace in the world? And they said the only way by doing that is for people to get to know each other, for young people to have an understanding of other cultures and other people. And that's how AFS was transformed from a wartime ambulance driving organization into a peacetime organization that develops international exchange programs for young people. And since that transformation in 1946, we have exchanged more than 500,000 young people around the world. So an incredible legacy of these ambulance drivers in terms of building the bridges. And I just want to say a couple things. Being a global citizen is something that doesn't just happen. It does take skill, and you build it over time, just like Her Royal Highness said earlier. And to me, what has connected what all the speakers have said this morning is this notion of citizenship, right? You have both a responsibility that is global, but you also have a responsibility that is local. And all of that, this global citizenship matters and is so crucial, and it matters for humanity right now. And I think there are three traits that I just wanted to share with you that I think connects all global citizens around the world. One is you focus on the we instead of the me, right? We all have a responsibility towards each other and to our community. And as global citizens, you use empathy to understand both your local community, but also the world. You also embrace differences. So there's a whole lot more that connects us rather than divides us. And global citizens know how to make use of our different strengths and work together constructively, no matter what our cultural backgrounds are. And finally, as global citizen, I think you know how to be flexible, because our global challenges are incredibly complex. And we need to be able to look at the global challenges from many different perspectives. We need to be able to assess ambiguities, and then we need to take action in our local communities. And I think all of that is what you're learning here, what you're building here, what you have done. And so congratulations for being selected, first of all, to this Leaders Academy. Thank you for your personal commitment to making the world a better place. I have no doubt that some of you in this virtual room right now will become Nobel Peace Prize winners in the very near future. And I hope very much to see you all sometime in person, maybe at the youth assembly that we're hosting in August in New York City. So thank you all very much, and enjoy your program and learn a lot.
Thank you so much once again, and to contribute for this dimension of what is to be a global citizen and also a local citizen. Thank you so much to all the partners involved and that support this program. And now we have a special, a very special moment. You know, when I ask you to open your hand, you know what is going to happen next. Let me check. So now that you know what this means, that all the winners and delegates who wants to be an Ubuntu contest of the beginning of our session, now you know why we are standing and opening our hands in front of the camera. It's time for a group photo. Our technical team will guide us through, because, you know, as always, we have a lot of Zoom pages. It's like it's a Facebook, but from the modern age of Zoom. Let's see.
So you know already how it's going to be. You know already how it's going to be. We'll try to cover all the pages. We'll try to cover all the pages. Give me just a second so we can record.
everyone is very excited, and that's perfect. But please try not to share as much links that we are seeing in the chat, just because we are missing some of the engagement and comments of other people. But do not worry, because we want for you to network. So you can network through the WhatsApp and other channels. Okay, so sorry, and don't put a lot of links on the chat box. And now moving forward, what do you have, Moses?
So, I'm actually very curious what it is. I've just been given a brief that I should put my dancing shoes on, because there's something which is coming, which involves us shaking ourselves a bit, because I think we've been sitting for quite a while. But it's my pleasure to introduce Jet to come in and to tell us what is this activity that we are going to do, where the brief has just been prepare yourself and put your dancing shoes on. Over to you, Jet.
Thank you. Are you listening to me well? Yeah, okay. So thank you. I'm very excited, very grateful for all the amazing speech that we've seen today. And now I bring to all the participants, to all the Ubuntu leaders, a small challenge that is a dance challenge. So I would like to invite every single one of you to show me your motivation, your energy, and your happiness through your body. So what we're gonna do, please first ensure that at the Zoom, you have the speaker view so you can see who is here on the stage dancing. And then you can stand up, move a little bit away from your camera, like Moses is just doing it right now. And we're gonna have a music playing and flags appearing on the screen. So whenever the flag of your delegation appears, show us the best moves you have. So my beloved technical team and Mr. DJ, please put the music on.
Yeah, baby, by the way, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Well, give me all you got and don't hold it back. Well, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, go. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. The love is too hot to bring me down. Can't none bring me down. I said, bring me down. Can't bring me down. I said, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, go. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. The love is too high to bring me down. Can't none bring me down. I said, cause I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Cause I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Hey, hey, hey. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Hey, hey. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Mama say, sunshine, she's here. You can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space with the air, like I don't care, baby. By the way, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Well, give me all you got, don't hold it back. Well, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, go. Bring me down, can't none. Can't none bring me down. The love is too high to bring me down. Can't none bring me down. I said, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Bring me down.
I'm out of my air. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed a lot this dancing and get you energized for the next activities that we're going to have. And before we advance, I just want to give you a quick reminder of one of the greatest gifts that we have. That's the gift of human diversity. So today, for the first time of my life, I think I was dancing together with people from more than 180 countries. So at Ubuntu Academy, with Ubuntu values, we value the uniqueness of each single individual. So we are branches of the same tree. We look for unity in diversity. So thank you everyone who danced with me. And Joanna, what's next? And I need to drink some water.
You did your job very, very well. You have to catch your breath. I had time to catch mine. It was wonderful, and I saw a lot of people putting in the chat. Oh, I have 2 left feet. Don't worry, I have also. And the secret is you glue your feet on the floor and just like move your upper body. Is that? Is it enough? So now I will introduce the next moment. And I guess you know by now what we are talking about, because all the moments are leading to this one. I'm going to introduce the bridge building. What is bridge building nowadays? And nowadays, as in the international news show us, we live in a world of walls. Walls are increasingly being built between countries, nations.
Ubuntu, a universal way of life. A present from Africa to the whole of humanity. Ubuntu means to become human. It is also this deep conviction that we only become a person through other persons. Ubuntu means interdependence, the development of one's individuality within a community, the capacity to look after yourself and the others. A philosophy that accommodates differences and connects those who seem to be opposites. Building bridges instead of walls. Ubuntu's way of life leads to servant leadership as our planet so clamors. A leadership style followed by some and still being followed. It inspires us to make a difference. Ubuntu invites us to act. In serving others, we find ourselves. Ubuntu, I am because you are.